not one that we see a ton of in Legacy these days, and not really one that I expect Shane to be bringing in here. This will be our last discussion of Sable's Wave, as Austin kicks off with Underground Sea Go. Shane says Island Go. There is no turn 1 Sensei Divining Top. Austin breathes a sigh of relief. And still just land Go. No clock from Austin.
Very interesting for Austin to keep 7 here and have nothing to do for the first couple turns of the game. Very rare.
Got to be a highly reactive hand. Shane is going to go for top on turn 2. We saw him actually in the last round have a top in play, or have a top in his opening hand, hold it until turn 2 to play around Daze. One suspects he's doing the same thing here. And there is a Daze. You can see it brought to the front of Austin's hand.
I think it's one of those things where if Shane, has to trade it with a Force of Will, that's not the end of the world. But running his best card into a Daze, there's no rush. He plays top on turn 1, let's say, activates it on turn 2. He gets the same sequence here. Just says go on turn 1 and turn 2, gets to play his top and activate it.
Fair enough.
Not really that much of a cost of efficiency, and does a much better job playing around Daze.
True. So yeah, that top does interplay, and Austin going to crack fetch after that brainstorm, which unsuccessfully found an answer to top, but hopefully for Austin, gave him a little more gas, maybe found a clock, turned things up. So Austin going to untap, find Force of Will on top, and I do see a Tarmogoyf. Likely that is going to be entering play and putting a little pressure on. Yeah, there it is. Verdant Catacombs, Tarmogoyf, go. And Shane going to give that top a spin. I've said that a lot in the last 2 hours.
In fairness, I mean, when we had Shane on camera, he had 2 intentional draws, and unintentional draws, rather. He picked up the 3rd in round 9 on camera. I just assumed that he was playing at a pretty glacial pace. He's actually been very fast through the elimination round. So
he really has.
Maybe he just caught some kind of random bad matchups or protracted games or whatever.
Or slow opponents. This is a deck that, and this is one of the big strikes against the deck as far as I'm concerned. One of the reasons that I never played it in my tenure as a player on the Open Series. Not something I would ever seriously consider even, because you don't have complete control over the pace of your opponent's play in this Swiss. If your opponent is actually, like playing slow by the textbook definition, proper slow play, you can call a judge. You can have judges watch them for that. If that perpetuates, then eventually they get penalties for it. But players have real decisions to make, and sometimes they make them slower than others.
And you're already in the fetch land, ponder, brainstorm, Stoneforge, Mystic. There's a lot of shuffling that happens already.
Yeah,
so
a lot of shuffling, a lot of checking the top, a lot of legitimate decision making that happens, in a recurring fashion. Decision intensive and deck manipulation intensive. And speaking of decisions and deck manipulation, Austin fires off ponder. Keeps. And I didn't quite catch what he found there. It looked like another copy of Tarmogoyf. So
now, in the games that I watched Austin play so far, he's shown a lot of respect for Terminus. So it wouldn't surprise me if he was playing 1 threat at a time, and it looks like he's doing the same thing here.
So yeah, that is Tarmogoyf. Draws it and leaves it in play. And 3rd time in 3 matches we've seen this interaction too. Shane gonna crack fetch at end step. In response to that trigger, to that activation, Austin going to Abrupt Decay the Sensei's Divining Top.
Now, Shane, fortunately, with multiple tops in that top 3. So I do think it's very good for Austin to have taken a stab at it here. But Shane came equipped, and he's going to be able to keep his top.
I wonder, as I said, I've never played these Miracle decks myself. So I wonder if there are spots where you want to crack fetch to get a fresh look, but you only have access to 1 top against Abrupt Decay decks. Are you timid about that? You hold off cracking the fetch there?
No, I think, you have to pick your spots. But at this stage of the game, Shane has so much, he just has so many things to do that, and, game 1, he's got these counterbalances too.
Sure.
It's not the end of the world to draw at a top. You get to still draw your card, and the deck doesn't have to have Divine Top. You can also win this way where you just kind of run your opponent out of things and then win with Entreat or Jace.
That's true.
So to that end, these early game 2-for-1s are not bad.
Yeah, and looks like counterbalance is going to resolve. Shane has the dreaded countertop lock. And the question is, does Austin have an abrupt decay to rig that up? And I believe he does. I think I did see that.
I'm surprised if Austin does have abrupt decay here. Seems worth firing that off right now to at least put an enchantment in the graveyard for Tarmogoyf.
But not going to choose to do that. Just takes a swing for 3 and passes. So yeah, Austin not going to play that second threat for fear, presumably, of Terminus. Not going to play Liliana either. That's a little surprising as well.
Yeah, just saying. I think he's planning on abrupt decaying at the end of the turn here.
Okay.
Trying to see if he can trap Shane a little bit into setting something on top with top, where he's trying to, trap something with counterbalance, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure. Yeah, Austin, as you said, is going to abrupt decay at Shane's end step. Shane says, sure, not a lot I can do. And Austin untaps. And I follow up Tarmogoyf there. All right.
But this is the pacing of the game that's just so good for Shane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes some sense to ration your threats to kind of force Terminus on a 1-for-1 basis, but you do give Shane a lot of time that you wouldn't otherwise.
Yeah, I like that line of play a lot more when divining top isn't a factor.
True.
Then ration out your threats and be careful about getting blown out. But with divining top in play, time is not on your side, and Shane's demonstrating exactly why. I mean, look at what's left over in his hand right now.
Yeah. And to be fair, Austin still has a lot of juice over there as well. So him to rock the draw for Austin, and he's going to play that. Shane has a Brainstorm to tuck away some of the power cards there. Likely eager to hide that Jace. And actually, it looks like Austin's going to fight over it.
Yeah, Austin is fighting right now.
So that was Force of Will pitching Daze. Looking to stop Brainstorm. Leave him actually just getting 2 of the 3 cards in Shane's hand at random. Shane has the option to force back. That feels weird, but it might be legitimate here. It kind of depends on how aggressively you think you're going to need to fight over this Terminus in your hand.
I don't mind topping, trying to find another blue card, something less valuable to Jace to pitch the Force of Will.
Okay, he's gonna, just as you said. Spins top, finds Ponder, taps to draw it, and pitches Ponder to that Force of Will, keeping the Jace safely in hand. And actually forces the him rather than the Force. So doesn't resolve his Brainstorm, but gets to keep the 2 cards regardless.
Yeah, and this is sort of what I was talking about, the way that, with the sequence earlier with abrupt decay on the divining top and how much you care about all that kind of stuff. And just now Austin's in a spot where he's kind of just out of things. He's run out of cards. And now Shane can resolve either one of his big spells, Jace or Entreat.
And
This game may be over very quickly. I mean, Shane may be able to curve here Jace into Snapcaster plus Plow into just, again, Austin just running out of things.
Yeah. And what are the, I know Austin has 2 cards over there. Do we know any of them at this point?
I believe one of them's a Tarmogoyf.
Okay. So that's a relevant threat, but yeah, as we see, Shane full up on gas here.
Tough to get going in the face of Jace, too.
True. Notably, okay, there it is. I was going to say, notably a little cramped on land. Shane does have those 2 flooded strands up there, but seems very apprehensive about pulling the trigger on them. He keeps finding sweet cards that he doesn't want to shuffle away. It's
a tough problem to
It
have.
really is, especially in the finals of a Legacy Open. Not like this, right?
Yeah.
It's not like this. Okay, so him gonna come down after all, it looks like. So that Brainstorm is gonna resolve, and then him knocks out top and planes, leaving Shane with just a Snapcaster Mage, it looks like.
I mean, I like Austin fighting aggressively over this him.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah, I mean,
it's his best shot.
yeah, you've got to just, you know, fight over the material, make Shane, you know, limit Shane's resources and force him to get scrappy. Snapcaster Mage pretty good at getting scrappy.
And you can see why Austin's also interested in running Shane out of resources, because the last card in Austin's hand is Liliana.
And so yeah, Austin does play that Tarmogoyf. Shane immediately reveals the Terminus that he tucked away. And that's going to be a window for this Liliana. Or this Tarmogoyf. So
You can see Austin shaking his head there. Of all the cards to draw, you know, he wants to get the Liliana
Yeah.
to play this turn,
Uh-huh.
but he can't plus and discard the Tarmogoyf.
Nope.
That's too much.
Sure can't. Is there a Source to Plowshares in the graveyard for Shane?
Well, Source of Plowshares or Counterspell gets it done here.
True. Okay. And there is definitely a counterspell. But Shane not going to pull the trigger. Of course, doesn't want to, if at all possible, doesn't want to crack that Flooded Strand because he knew there was a Jace the Mind Sculptor on top.
Yeah, I mean, this is also a more than adequate solution to Tarmogoyf for the time being.
Yeah, particularly, you know, given that there's Liliana of the Veil in Austin's hand. If you keep putting Tarmogoyf back in his hand, it's going to get real uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Although a land off the top here would be actually pretty good for Austin. Allow him to recast Tarmogoyf and then cast Liliana with an empty hand. Jace the Mind Sculptor coming down on schedule. Tarmogoyf back to the hand.
And
And that was a Ponder from Austin.
not the draw he's looking for.
Might find him a land, but cost him a mana to do so kind of defeats the purpose.
Although finding Delver of Secrets here is not bad, and Deathrite Shaman as well.
Yeah.
Because another good answer to the Jace here is just putting 2 creatures into play.
True. And it looks like, yeah. Gonna replay the Tarmogoyf, put Deathrite Shaman on back on top of that Ponder, draws it, casts both. People compare Deathrite Shaman to Grim Lavamancer a lot because the abilities kind of function similarly. One major difference is you cannot Deathrite Shaman your opponent's Planeswalkers,
Yep.
which is a real problem here. But Shane going to, rather than play the Unsummon game, which is a losing proposition, gonna use the Brainstorm on Jace. See if he can find some solutions. And found a pretty good one there.
Well, it's not necessarily a losing proposition. I mean, Snapcaster Mage does allow him to finagle this a little bit. He's not necessarily giving up this Jace. He can protect it.
And you know, if he survives to a draw step, then you know that Terminus is going to come back off top and put Austin back to square one. So I think, given that that is likely going to happen, it is pretty important if you're Shane to keep that Jace around.
Yeah, you don't want to be top deck to top deck. You want to have some advantage in play.
I didn't catch what Austin drew, but
It was a Delver of Secrets.
Delver Secrets, yeah, of course, that's we knew it was there. We know the card underneath it is a Misty Rainforest, I believe, that does not flip it, so not that exciting. Tarmogoyf going to swing in. I have 5/6 currently. One has to assume that it's going at Jace, but we're not sure about that.
We'll see how Shane wants to handle this. Well, it looks like it's not going at Jace.
Okay.
I mean, you know, if you're in Austin's seat, Shane is kind of in range here, you know?
Yeah, so, okay. So the question then for Austin is, do you add additional threats to the board? So I'm going to go with Liliana first. And that is a big Spell Pierce there in Shane's hand. So, although he cannot currently use it because of Deathrite Shaman. So he pitches it instead to Force of Will. Could, in theory, hardcast the Force of Will instead. But that would require him to crack that Flooded Strand and deprive him of the Terminus that is hidden away on top of his deck.
Yep.
So Terminus is going to come up in Shane's draw step. Austin responds with Deathrite Shaman, knocks Shane down to 5. But there goes the army,
And Jace still in play.
which was an important piece of the puzzle. Shane successfully jumped through both hoops, and Austin left with just one card in hand, which we know is Delver of Secrets, and a relatively useless land on top.
So I imagine the card that Austin tried to strip out of the graveyard here was the Brainstorm.
Mhm.
And now Shane is responding here with the Snapcaster Mage on Brainstorm.
Ah, okay. And there we go. Not the most exciting of brainstorms, but it's all upside here, right?
Yeah. And now this is with the Terminus still on the stack, so
Yes.
now Snapcaster goes to the bottom.
And a Fate Seal for Jace. Shane says keep it, and plays his land and passes.
That's what I really like about Shane playing this deck. He's shifted gears into Jace Fate Seal mode very quickly.
There's the Delver of Secrets, which we knew was coming, and the Misty Rainforest. And Shane takes a peek. That was the draw there, a Snapcaster Mage, which we knew about. Shane sees a land on top. Again, says keep it. We have yet to see Shane put a card on the bottom.
Yep.
Jace.
And Austin there wisely sacking his fetch land there to shuffle his deck there after Shane had left a card on top of the library. And Austin did a quick check to see was he running the bluff on me?
Yep. One of the more delightful sub games in Magic.
Yep. Opponent has a fetch land in play. You Fate Seal and automatically leave on top because you know they're just going to shuffle no matter how good the card is. So good for Austin check there. Is he bluffing me or is he playing it legitimate? Turns out legitimate.
Yeah. The general rule, I think, is always crack the first time they do it. The first time you leave on top, if you have a fetch land, crack it. Always peek. And if you see that it was a money spell that they just tricked you in, then just never crack again. Maybe I'm just too predictable, though. All right, so that was... All right.
Yeah, nothing in the graveyard to flash back there. Shane just looking to trade Snapcaster Mage for Delver of Secrets before it flips.
Fate Seal again. Keep it again. Jace doing what Jace does. Tarn off the top, go ahead. And a land and pass right back for Austin. So this is the game that Shane wants to play. And sure, keep it. So once again, Jace the Mind Sculptor, entered at 3 loyalty, has been ticking up 2 at a time ever since, and forcing Austin to crack those fetches on occasion. Yeah. Austin almost tried to fetch up a Delver of Secrets. That's not how that card works.
And only now 3 turns away. Can Shane just protect this for a little bit longer?
Well, and it's very hard for Austin to get off the board at this point, too. Austin has straight up nothing, right?
He can cast creatures and force a response.
Right, yeah. He can, attack the Jace, but no Maelstrom Pulses, things of that nature. And at 10 loyalty, it's going to be a lot of combat. Now, and also with Shane at 5 life, generally any creature is going to be attacking, straight at Shane here. This Tombstalker representing a 1-turn swing. Shane chose the last card in his hand is a counter spell. So that Tombstalker not doing a thing, actually.
Yeah, we saw Austin get into Tombstalker versus unsummoning Jace mode against Joe. It was a little on the ugly side.
Yeah.
Fortunately, Shane not going to post through this. Just counter it outright.
Yeah. And that was actually, Shane took a peek, left on top once again. That was a Force of Will, which he left on top. Figures, sure, draw that. You won't be countering anything. You are going to get ultimated. And sure enough, that's how it plays out.
Very enjoyable to watch Shane very quickly shift gears there. A lot of people just kind of brainstorm indefinitely, but realized the board was stable enough to go to the Fate Seal plan. And Shane, relatively speaking, quickly up a game here in this matchup. Welcome back to the booth, Patrick Sullivan, Andrew Strout, RC Games Legacy Open Finals here in Dallas, Texas. It is trivia time. We have one final question. And the question they have for you is, in the previous round, we asked you, where are we going to be next week? The answer is Syracuse, New York. You're going to be there in the sideboard. I'm going to be there. Who is going to be my partner in the booth? And for extra credit, extra little, ping pong balls in the selection, tweet his Twitter handle inside of your answer. Again, tweet that at tweet that at SCG Live hashtag SCG Premium. The hint is he and I were doing the show earlier today. He left due to medical reasons. He is likely asleep, and so I would really like it if
if he got about 70 tweets all of a sudden.
help me out here. Tweet the answer at SCG Live, hashtag SCG Premium, and one of you will be selected for a full year of Star City Games Premium content.
Sneaky. That's,
This is my only revenge.
That's
This
fair.
is all
That's
I have.
fair.
This is all
Yeah.
I have left.
all right, I'll take it.
Let's go to the sideboard here. Let's take a look at what these players have here. Austin Williams, we've already seen him play against Counterbalance rather. Gravedigger's Cage, a Null Rod, 2 disfigures, a Force of Will, 2 Golgari Charms, a Crow's Nine Grip, 2 Spell Pierce, 2 Vendilion Click, a Hinatorak, a Creeping Tide Pit, Surgical Extraction. So, I like the Tar Pit a lot, like the Him a lot, like the 2 Clicks a lot, the Crozan Grip, and the Null Rod. Also, in the match against Joe, he did bring in the Surgical Extraction. So I expect him to do a very similar sideboarding plan here.
And Shane, this is a sideboard we have seen in a match we have seen. Shane has access to 2 red Elemental Blast, 2 Rest in Peace, 2 Supreme Verdict, 1 Power Blast, 1 Pithing Needle, 2 Meddling Mage, 1 Vendilion Click, 2 Disenchant, 1 Sabo's Web, and 1 Izzet Staticaster.
So we saw him do very good work against his previous bug opponent with the 2 copies of Supreme Verdict. And then besides that, the click, the red blasts, the Rest in Peace to knock away the graveyard-oriented threats. I think we're going to just see kind of the similar sideboarding.
Yep. Don't think that there is any real difference in the way Austin's deck is constructed and the way that Noah Cohen's deck was constructed in the semifinals that would prompt Shane to sideboard any differently. I'm expecting just verdicts and good cards.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think based on the way that I've seen Shane play this matchup, by the way that I saw Joe play the matchup in the top 8, I think that there's no counterbalance in this deck. I think that's on the sideline.
I agree. I think that's likely. I don't remember. Did we see a Force of Will in Game 3 last round? I feel like we did not.
I cannot recall, but I don't recall seeing it.
Yeah. I think actually Shane boards out all of his counterbalances and all of his Force of Wills.
And just tries to become kind of a good stuff deck. Makes sense. More powerful draw steps. He's not that susceptible to Wasteland because of so many basics, so he can just make his land drops and play better stuff. It sounds like a oversimplification, but it does feel like that's Shane's game plan for the matchup.
It's the secret to sideboarding. Take out the bad cards. Bring in the good ones.
Play normal Magic.
Yeah.
Kill stuff, cast a Jace, cast an Entreat. Easy stuff.
Yeah. Now, in comparison to his semifinal, which featured 2 Dark Confidants out of Noah's deck, here, these Rest in Pieces are even better than normal.
Yeah. So the cost of Tombstalker here, much more susceptible to counter spells, much weaker to Jace, and of course, very bad against Rest in Peace.
Yes.
This is a major downgrade over the Dark Confidants that Shane went through in the semifinals.
Yeah, and it might even be an argument for actually boarding out the Tombstalkers here. Austin does have access to an additional copy of Vendilion Click in the board, 1 more than we saw last round. So
Yeah, there's just an interesting guessing game here of, if you're confident your opponent has removed counterbalance, are you supposed to remove Abrupt Decay?
yeah, I mean, Rest in Peace is still a problem.
That's true. Rest in Peace is a problem card.
Abrupt Decay on top in response to a fetch land, still a powerful play. So I don't want to cut all the Abrupt Decays, certainly. Now, some of the work that Abrupt Decay does, Golgari Charm also does. So there's maybe some argument for hedging there.
Yeah, there's double duty because he can also fight Supreme Bird. He can fight Rest in Peace. If Shane has left in counterbalance, maybe you can counter it, maybe not. I mean, it's no guarantee, but it does give you a bit of a hedge.
Yeah. Now, we talked about this a little bit last round. Golgari Charm looked fantastic for Noah Cohen in Game 2. It looked pretty lackluster for him in Game 3. I think in both players' cases, really, this is a case where you want to be very careful about leaving in cards that are not very broadly applicable.
Yeah, it's a resource battle. The resources get worn out.
Yeah.
And dead draw steps are a disaster on both sides of the table.
I think that's a bigger problem for Shane because Shane is under attack, from in his hand. He's getting himmed. He's getting Liliana. He's getting Thoughtseized. But it's still a problem for Austin as well, because Austin has to be the aggressor. Austin does not have inevitability here. He's the one that has to find a clock and keep it.
Yep. And it's tough to do in the face of Rest in Peace, too. That's going to be real tough.
So Austin going to lead off with a Delver of Secrets. And we'll see what Shane has to answer back. I did see a Swords to Plowshares, but will not be casting it this turn. Just going to go for an island. We have seen Shane's willingness to hold top for a turn against potential dazes before. Doesn't look like there is a Sensei's Divining Top in his hand this game, so.
Yeah, I think all that's going on here, Austin has 3 copies of Stifle. He doesn't really need to hold on to this fetch land, just wants to get it out of his hand and not get tagged.
Sure. So, fetch up island and pass the play for Shane. Austin untaps, takes a peek, Abrupt Decay. Well, we kept some of them.
Yep. When I talked to Noah Cohen after his loss in the semifinals, he said he left in 2 against Shane.
Sure. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's a hedge. He said even tagging an angel inside of combat, they have to double block your Tomberglyph pretty frequently.
Yeah. But yeah, not a card you ever want 2 of, I think. Particularly not in your opening hand or in the first, several turns. But yeah, Abrupt Decay going to show up, going to flip up Delvers, or flip up Insectile Aberration immediately, and it's going to start the beatdown. Shane down to 3, or taking 3 down to 16. And Austin's going to ship back to Shane, who simply plays his planes and passes back.
Yeah, no second land from Austin last turn.
And there's the swords.
And this is the game plan again, as simple as it sounds. Just make your land drops and cast stuff.
Yeah. So Austin, yeah, you mentioned no land drop. You have to assume that there's going to be a lot of interaction there. But Austin chooses not to fight over the swords. Possible that he just simply can't. We do see a Daze and a Stifle. And an Underground Sea. Fresh off the top for Austin. We'll see if that opens up any further avenues of attack. It looks like he is going to pass the turn. Shane will attempt to crack a fetch land at Austin's end step. Austin jumps out with Stifle. Shane spell pierces the Stifle. Austin insists.
Yeah.
Stifle again.
No, this is happening.
Yeah.
But not the end of the world for Shane. I mean, he's still making his land drops.
Yeah. Another land off the top, and actually still had that Mystic Gate tucked away in his hand. So lands to spare for Shane.
And what's great, again, Shane just showing so much patience with these brainstorms. Just he's waiting until he either has some synergy that he wants to do with, Sensei's Divine Top or some sort of miracle card, or, waiting until his hand actually can improve.
Yeah. And Austin going to play Wasteland, go for that Mystic Gate. Shane responds with Vendilion Click, and Austin Daze at the ready to put a stop to that. What's interesting here, I'm pretty sure Austin had that Wasteland all along.
Yeah, he was sitting on it. I mean, he was not making his second land drop there. He had nothing he could cast because of the Wasteland, and it could induce Shane into fetching a non-basic or just casting one out, playing one out of his hand. I don't know. I don't know if that plays correct, but
I don't. He does not appear to have been punished for it, at the very least.
I do not know if the play is correct, but it's at least a reasonable gamble.
Yeah, definitely. Good bit of gamesmanship, anyway.
And Austin just on the full LD plan now, extracting Scalding Tarn.
Sure. Get him out of there. Interesting. Okay.
I've really enjoyed watching Austin because there's been the whole range of things going on.
There really has, yeah.
There's been sort of some confusing lines. There's been some brilliant lines. He appears to be just kind of laughing and having a good time the whole way. It's been great. It's the first time I've gotten to watch him play, and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, we've got a peek at the hand there. Shane sitting on Flooded Strand, Jason the Mind Sculptor, Brainstorm, Terminus. Austin's going to jot that down real quick. And yeah, I agree. It's very clear that Austin's having a blast.
I'm not being sarcastic. Some of the plays we've seen through the elimination rounds have legitimately been excellent. High-level Magic.
Yeah.
And there's been some stuff that's just really confused me.
Sure.
But it's, all part of the experience.
Yeah. Surgical Extraction on a fetch land. I don't know what the call is for that, but I've seen a lot of players go for it.
Just try to get him.
Yeah, just kind of the siren call of getting them.
Yeah.
It gets to players. We saw this. Where were we? Where was I last? 2 weeks ago in Baltimore, in the finals of Baltimore. We saw a Jund player, surgical extracting fetch lands in the finals.
It's one of those things, when opponents make plays that I don't understand, and I just, you know what? That guy's just living his life.
Absolutely.
He is living his life.
Maybe I can learn from him.
Yeah.
Here I am sitting in a booth talking about Magic.
Yeah.
What do I know?
Yeah, I'm here hanging out with you.
Yeah.
Midnight on a Sunday in Dallas, so.
Yeah, it works
And
out.
Austin with another successfully snapped off stifle there.
Mm-hmm. So Austin appears to be just hell bent to fight over mana.
Yeah.
But Shane pretty well equipped to power through all of that business.
Which actually, given the quality of Shane's hand, I mean, look at it now. Doesn't have a lot going on.
It's true.
Can't cast stuff. No lands. Missing color or mana.
Mm-hmm.
Shane finally has to brainstorm because his hands need some assistance.
Yep. And it looks like we're getting the old brainstorm lock. So not going to be anything too spicy coming along for the next 2 turns. Although, Shane pretty well insulated from whatever Austin can cook up.
Yeah.
And what can Austin cook up? I do see Delver and Tarmogoyf. So likely those are going to be the plays. Austin kicks off with Delver Secrets. Chooses not to fire off. And that makes some sense. Shane did cast a Brainstorm. He did not find a fetch land. It is plausible that he would have put a Terminus on top, which certainly is exactly what he did. So Austin going to force the 1-for-1 Terminus.
Yeah. And he's just, again, this is just trades. This is a spot here where Shane's going to plow. If it succeeds, great. If it hits a Spell Pierce, that's one last thing to fight over the Jace in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
And Austin, no copies of True Name Nemesis in any of his lists. So the spot removal spells are just, they're always killing stuff.
Yeah, Swords is basically just more copies of Terminus here.
Yeah.
Especially given the way that we have seen Austin play in this match and in other matches. I am not sure Austin has had a second creature in play in the entire time we've had him on camera.
Yeah, no, he's played the mixture of, just the way the games play out and how conservative he's been about the card Terminus.
Mm-hmm. So, also going to take another draw. I believe he found another threat in the form of Delver of Secrets. Shane's got Swords to spare. So that's going to take care of that. And I believe this next draw set from Shane will be his first fresh one.
Yeah, and I think if there's no land here, it's going to fire off this Brainstorm.
Mm-hmm. Takes a peek, finds land. Not the land he wants, though. Well, not a land he necessarily doesn't want either. He would love a second blue source to get that Jason to play and go to town, but a way to cast that red elemental blast is actually pretty sweet too.
Oh, and Snapcaster is just an incredible draw here for Shane.
There will be swordsing and plowing, possibly. But since Austin gives him a target, there will simply be, well, no brainstorming, because there's no blue source, actually.
Just getting aggressive.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. Supreme Verdict, the draw for Shane. Simply passes the turn. Austin tries a Vendilion Click at the end step. Shane has red Elemental Blast at the ready. So there will be none of that.
Now that Snapcaster feels a little hasty now that there's a Reb in the graveyard.
It really does. Particularly given the density of sweepers that are in Shane's deck. That feels like a card that is going to incidentally get tucked away or killed off when it could have been an all-star there. I think I am happy to hold that card until Shane gives me something to plow. Until Austin gives me something to plow.
And Austin's setting up a really nice turn here. Pondered and a Brainstorm, gets to put 2 back, fetch, and potentially him, Shane.
Mm-hmm. And a pretty crowded grip there all of a sudden, so likely going to find 2 that he has no interest in.
I mean, he has these Abrupt Decays he's been clutching for a while. I'm sure he can let go of at least one of them.
Mm-hmm. There is a target sitting in play, so... Certainly he could use them if he wanted. Austin likely holding on to them for fear of rest in peace, which we suspect is there, or counterbalance, which we suspect is not there, but could be pretty good here. And Austin cracking those fetches. Was that a pass in the turn?
I would imagine he's casting Hymn to Torak.
Okay. Lays Wasteland. Snipes Caracas. There goes the second white source for Shane, so that Council's Judgment temporarily disabled. And it looks like Shane's going to fire off a Brainstorm. So that suggests to me that Austin did pass the turn, actually.
And Shane's still Brainstorm locked here.
Yeah, the old bad news Brainstorm. Number 2, in fact. Huh. Yeah, this is a tough spot. Looks like Shane did put away a Terminus. Okay, so Shane Brainstorms then basically in response to Wasteland, I believe. Does get hymned. And we will roll the bones and see what he loses.
Magic as it was meant to be played.
Yep. None of this eye contact business.
Hold out your hands and look me in the eyes.
Whatever that was, I don't know, man.
You're missing out.
I wasn't around for that.
Your loss.
Yeah, apparently. Sounds it, yeah. I'm willing to believe that. Terminus draw from Shane. Card he knew was there. Could have miracled if he wanted. Didn't. Wouldn't make any sense. And Needle going to come down.
Imagine this is a preemptive Needle on Liliana of the Veil.
That would make sense. That's Liliana of the Veil and Deathrite Shaman, the two prominent cards to name in the matchup.
Yeah.
And I think Liliana of the Veil, the scarier of the two here.
Yeah, Shane's so stripped of resources here that I don't think he can handle Liliana at this juncture.
Right. And a confirmation, he did in fact name Liliana of the Veil.
You can see Shane just kind of waiting to finally get to deploy his stuff. I mean, he's been gripping Jace and...
Yeah, those Brainstorms have been miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah, we knew that one was there too. So this next draw step from Shane will be the first to potentially find the second blue source to unlock all these goodies. And Austin taking plenty of draw steps himself, but just not doing much.
Yeah.
There's not a game that I think favors him.
No. I mean, Shane is actually relatively low on mana in a general sense left over in his deck.
Mm-hmm.
He's been wastelanded a bunch. All of his Tarns are gone.
I forgot about that. There they are, all in a row. Deathrite Shaman, the play for Austin Williams. Could have been turned off from Needle, wasn't. Shane offers a trade. Austin says, whatever, take 2. And looks like the draw step there was Entreat the Angels. Could not be more awkward. So, a lot of lands, I think, it looks like, in Austin's hand.
He's a little flooded out. He has a Daze. He has an Abrupt Decay, a couple lands. Nothing really proactive.
Yeah. At this late stage in the game, you would not think that Daze would be exciting. Daze is actually really sweet here.
Yeah, the way this is shaping up. Shane's still with a lot of expensive cards in his hand.
Mm-hmm. And about 5 swings later, Snapcaster Mage finally draws an Abrupt Decay. So, that was that. Supreme Verdict draw? Okay, so still no second blue source or relevant castable spell from Shane. Takes a peek. Okay, well, we can cast that one.
Sort of.
Sort of. Actually, can we? Is Fire Blast the one that you have to have a target for, or can you, like, target anything?
You can target anything. It looks on resolution.
There we go. We got a spell we can cast. And looks like...
Another him.
Yeah, him the draw from Austin. Him not so exciting against a proper full grip. But nothing better to do. Austin's going to fire it off.
No harm in casting it.
Yep. Oh, man. This is a 7-card handle. How do we do this?
You gotta get the 10-sided die or the 8-sided die.
Well, we don't have one of those.
Well,
Not in the feature match kit anyway. We do not carry oversized 10-sided die.
well, someone should have been fired then, because look at where we're at right now.
I should have been fired like 15 times.
Talked
this
about,
weekend.
you know,
Jeez.
we looked at earlier this weekend. We needed bird tokens for Sion Vitsukazi. None in the feature match area.
Wow.
Now this. Thankfully, Austin's come prepared.
There we go.
Thankfully.
All right, sweet. I was kind of hoping for some of that phantom out and eye contact action, just so I can see what you're talking about.
Well, I don't know if we have the camera angles to get the stare
Sure
down
enough,
is the
yeah.
thing.
Oh, we do. We got the sideboard cams that we go to. We can see both players at the same time.
Sure.
As it is, the dice will have to do. And we got a stab at, was that Vendilion Click and
Spell Pierce.
That was a good him. Those are probably the two cards that Shane wanted to hold on to the most. So Austin going to go ahead and activate that Deathrite Shaman, knock Shane down to 8, and right on time. There we go.
All right. Breaking out.
Yep. Second blue source.
Can only still sort of cast things.
Yeah. Oh, and we just passed the turn.
Yeah.
I feel like there's at least there it is. And there's a wasteland in Austin's hand, so yeah. Right into the graveyard. You know, Shane could have cast that Jace.
I think he correctly suspects there's
Yes.
a Daze or a Spell
Yes.
Pierce.
Yeah. Not a lot of wiggle room here. Just wants to wait and see what he can find. What he finds is Wasteland. Yeah, there we go. Blue source number 2. Again.
He can still wait. I mean, once he finds a white source, he can Supreme Verdict.
Well, he needs to find it relatively quickly. Because this
Oh,
Deathrite Shaman is getting pretty close to closing the game out. Shane actually only has 2 more draw steps, I think.
And
there
again,
it is.
Austin showing so much respect for the sweeper. Doesn't even cast the Delver in his hand.
Yeah.
And now, Shane gonna Supreme Verdict everything away.
And by everything.
The Deathrite Shaman.
Yes.
But could have easily been more had Austin deployed the Delver.
Yeah. So a lot of restraint we've seen from Austin.
Yeah, it's been
And-
incredible. I've never seen someone play with this much discipline against sweepers. I mean, every time it's been a borderline call, are you supposed to do it or not? Austin has been incredibly conservative.
So in response to the Supreme Verdict, Austin going to get one last activation in on Deathrite Shaman. That's going to knock Shane down to 3. That does make Insectile Aberration a 1-turn clock. So Austin going to untap. Draws a card and finds a relatively useless land. I think we're going to see him quickly get that Delver into play and ship it back. Shane finds a redundant Jace. It's interesting. He would be very happy to kill that Delver with a Pyroblast. He cannot play Delver, or he cannot play Pyroblast and Jace in the same turn without walking into the Daze, which he's been playing around all game. Would not make much sense to stop playing around it now.
Yeah.
So he's just going to pass the turn.
I think you just want to have the information on, what does Shane draw, basically.
Yeah.
Or sorry, what does Austin draw rather?
Shane can wait until the Delver trigger resolves. If it is an instant or sorcery, he can see it and then still play the Pyroblast in Austin's upkeep before that card joins the rest of Austin's hand.
So Shane's still hanging on here.
It has been a bizarre game. And did Austin know about that? Did he know what the top card was? It turns out it wouldn't have flipped it over anyway. But...
No, he looked and then
Oh, okay. All right.
looked and failed.
All right. It's a very breezy look. He's kind of looking on the way to the hand. Delver Secret's going to swing for 1. Shane says 1 is too many.
And Austin did not cast the Tarmogoyf that he drew.
That's interesting.
And now, perhaps some trouble.
Finally out of his mana woes, Shane's going to get to stick this Jace and go to town. Austin does have days.
Well, the problem now is these miracle cards that have been straggling in Shane's hand, they are now unlocked.
Yeah. So Shane can tuck that Terminus on top in case, Austin does draw, or actually in this case not draw, but simply play the Tarmogoyf that he has access to. And I couldn't tell if it was Terminus or Entreat that he stacked first, but it doesn't really matter because he follows up with Sensei's Dividing Top and he can rearrange them as he sees fit.
Yeah, I think he left Entreat on top, but it doesn't really matter at this stage.
It's Austin going to draw and cast a Ponder, finds him Spell Pierce Ponder on top. Shane actually down to just a few cards in hand, so that him actually looks pretty appealing, but with Jason top in play, the damage is done.
Yeah, he's got everything he needs to win the game already lined up in his hand.
Shane has Brainstorm in hand. He could respond to him. I don't see any reason to.
Well, the upside of responding here, and he's not going to, is if you can induce the days, that's another angel you basically get to make next turn.
That's fair. Loses Brainstorm and Jace. And a follow-up Tarmogoyf for Austin Williams. Shane gonna spin that top. Take a peek, make sure things were as he left them. But actually, okay. Yeah, you're right. He did have Entreat on top. Now that Tarmogoyf has come along, he is going to go for a Terminus instead.
I like this from Shane, not getting too greedy and trying to just fire off right away. Keep the board stable.
Yep.
And then when you have your opening, try to land the Entreat.
Yep, and he can do that as early as Austin's end step.
Yeah.
And gets to start the whole Jace Fate Seal engine going.
Which is how we've seen him close out multiple games so far in this matchup. There's no Maelstrom Pulse in these lists, no way to kill this thing. Their removal spells are Abrupt Decay, so Jace is a pretty stable path to victory.
Yep. Ponder, going to show up for Austin. Uses that Ponder to find the Delver of Secrets. Shifts it back. Shane is going to go for Entreat at the end step. There is a Daze in Austin's hand. Shane's been playing around it all game, so interested to see how much mana he commits to this. 1, 2. Just 2.
2 angels should be good.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a needle right now on Liliana.
2's plenty.
The issue is just now Abrupt Decay. If you make an extra token, you have more staying power against Abrupt Decays, which could be in Austin's hand.
So yeah, with 2 angels, Shane can swing for 8 and then swing for 8 and close it out. And the unsummon ability on Jace makes that a safe enough play. So that's what he goes for. Unsummon Delver of Secrets. Attack with 2 angels. Austin does use Abrupt Decay on one of them. So now it goes from a 2-turn clock to a 4-turn clock.
But with top Jace, you still feel like Shane has the tools here to lock it up.
I agree. It's still definitely Shane's game to lose. Just 2 life, though. Things would have to go wrong. But I've seen things go wrong before.
Oh, he's got a fetch land too. I mean, he has so many looks at it with the Divining Top too. Things would have to go really wrong.
Yeah. And so Shane used Jace that last turn to bounce the Delver of Secrets, so he did not get to screen Austin's draw step, and Austin finds a Tarmogoyf. So potential punishment there. Looks like Terminus. Terminus the answer. And again, I love it. Austin has Delver of Secrets in hand, but is not going to cast Delver of Secrets and Tarmogoyf.
I think he has to, though, because otherwise he just loses the race to getting unsummoned by Jace over and over again.
You would think, but I guess, we're not completely clear on when the top spin was just now, but it kind of looked like Austin had passed the turn. Maybe he hasn't yet.
Could have just been in response to the Tarmogoyf.
Sure.
But yeah, I understand Austin has been very conservative here, but I don't think he has a choice at this point.
I agree. You've got to do it now. Is that actually 2 Delvers?
I think it's Daze and 2 lands.
Daze. Okay, Daze is the last card. Yeah, we have that Daze has been there from like turn 3 on, and Shane has just never given him a spot to use it. So, okay. Terminus not the draw. Shane would rather get another attack out of that 4/4 Angel. Not sure what the draw actually was. It looked like a Snapcaster Mage. But no matter what it was, even if Terminus not the draw, here's a Brainstorm. Okay. As long as that Terminus is sitting in the top 3 cards, Shane can conjure it up with Sente's Dividing Top whenever he feels. As long as he doesn't get Croson Gripped. And if Croson Grip's coming, he'll see it, thanks to Delver of Secrets. Unless Austin gets tricky.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen Austin get tricky before.
Yeah, quite a bit.
And Shane's in a tough spot here. He's, well, not a difficult spot, but in a complicated spot.
Yeah.
Not sure what the source of confusion is here. Shane has that Plains tapped. It looks like he is contemplating a top spin, but I don't know. We'll have to get some clarification on what that confusion was, but it looks like whatever it was resolved. Shane's going to give that top a spin. Finding, looked like Terminus and lands. Okay, and this is, okay, and so this was in Austin's upkeep, presumably?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, Shane was asking how many cards in hand. Austin initially said 2. There's actually 3. Got a warning. No big deal.
Mm-hmm. Particularly confusing question to ask in someone's upkeep. But Austin, without a follow-up, Shane simply is going to draw, recast his Sente's Dividing Top, and the chase is going to go to work.
Shane's getting close again.
Mm-hmm. Takes a peek, says keep it. Shane 3 turns away, 2 upticks, and an ultimate.
4 turns. 3 upticks.
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry. It is 12.
I don't even know if Austin has any lands in his left deck left again. It appears he does not.
Wow.
Still just shuffling. I mean, he got Fade Sealed, so.
Yeah. That's what you were actually looking for out of that, anyway. You were not in the market for a 6th land. And actually, yeah, a lot of lands still in Austin's hand. He's been drawing those and holding them all game. Shane's gonna give the top a spin. 3 lands.
And no reason to do anything with these fetch lands, you know? He's at 2, so his last shuffle is incredibly valuable.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to do that until he absolutely has to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and no incentive to do so. Feels like he has the game under control. Lets Austin keep that one. Austin's going to shuffle it away. And once again, we're at a point, just like we were at the end of the last game. Austin is drawing incredibly thin here. Austin does not have a card he can just rip off the top and deal with this Jace. If Austin wants to get Jace off the board, he has to attack it. And
That's going to be hard to do.
it is. It's going to be very hard to do, particularly since he has to draw an effect that can attack it. Austin is going to find Ponder. Takes peek at 3. I see Grip, Abrupt Decay, Delver.
Yep.
That's pretty good Ponder.
It's not bad.
Is it going to be enough?
It is something that is capable of a Hail Mary, potentially.
Yeah. Well, this would be a crazy end to this game if Austin is able to kind of sneak it through.
Oh, yeah.
So, Austin lands the Delver of Secrets. I did not see what he put on top. One would think the Croson Grip the more important card, but also the one that you would not want to give Shane an opportunity to respond to in the upkeep.
Yeah.
Huh, okay.
So this is in response to a fetch here. Shane trying to get a fresh look. The top 3 were top, land, land.
Okay. game suddenly got a lot closer.
Yeah, it's live. I mean, if Shane finds some sort of answer to this Delver, that's a lock.
Yeah. And of course, he does have Jace in play, so he has 10 time walks anyway. So I guess it's not actually as close as we're making it sound. But
Well, if Shane misses for a really long time here,
yeah,
and Austin is able to find a second threat,
sure.
then we start playing Magic for another, 45 to 70 minutes.
Oh man, are we gonna see the mythical Patrick Sullivan meltdown?
Well, the convention center might kick us out first, but we'll see how it plays out.
Okay, all right. Shane gonna go for brainstorm. There was an entreat. That's big.
That feels big here.
I think that solves a lot of your problems. All right. No top, doesn't need it. A lot of angels. Again, we'll see how many he goes for.
I think 3 is sufficient.
3 would do, and he is going to go for 3. Leaves 2 mana untapped up there. Nope.
Oh, 2.
Go back up. Just 2. Plays around Daze plus Spell Pierce.
Sure.
The reason to make 3 is if you think that all the cards in Austin Tanner can kill angels, but we've already seen several Abrupt Decays out of Austin, so.
Yep.
And you've turned Liliana off. So 2 angels going to show up. Sensei's Divining Top, rejoining the party. And a Tundra replayed and an uptick on Jace. Or no, it looks like a downtick. Get out of there, Delver. Yeah, those 2 angels, still a 1-turn clock.
Yeah, there's no risk here. Shane can go on tap, attack you. If Austin has anything, then he can unsummon after the fact.
Sure. Yeah, if Austin has 2 threats this turn, then maybe you don't pull the trigger. Grip on top. Get that Sensei's Dividing Top out of there. The damage is certainly done as far as that goes. The Delver Secret's going to come down, and yeah, it looks like Shane's got this locked up.
Yeah, looks like Shane Remelt is an attack away here.
Goes for a swing. Austin
There it
extends the
is.
hand.
Shane Remelt, 2-0. Now your StarCityGames.com Legacy Open champion here in Dallas. Very impressive run through the elimination rounds. And remember, 6-0-3 at the end of Swiss.
Yeah.
Snuck in. That's got to be a first in Open Series history. And now, as the AC battle through 3 rounds, beating Dredge, beating Bug, and then beating Bug again.
Yeah, that is crazy. And I love the smile on Austin Williams' face there.
Yeah,
That was possibly the happiest I have ever seen